everyone, how's it going? My name is Jordan, also known as Scraps, and today it's May 14th, also known as my birthday, 2013. So for this birthday special, I thought I would show you how to create a vintage pump organ. And thanks to Hacksaws, he taught me, he said just use shift when I need to fine tune anything, so yep, works. So I've been messing around with that shift command, and the shift is a shortcut to fine-tune little things. And so I figured out how to create a vintage pump organ. Now, the differences between vintage and sounding vintage is that vintage organs have attitude. All hardware has attitude to it. And I've learned to love that attitude because some things sound different as opposed to digital. But now, thanks to watching a synthesizer video of how to create something vintage, and I've actually created my own little version of this vintage organ. So I'll play you this demo and I'll show you how to create it. So let me go ahead and move this down, and here we go. Now what makes this vintage, and actually I'm using 16th notes for this, so what makes this vintage is that if you start to hold down a note for a while, it'll start to phase in and out. And I'll play a little demo for you. I don't know if you could hear with the demo video or with the demo example I just presented. You can hear it, but it's very minor. For this tutorial, I'm actually going to make it so that way it makes a bigger impact. So what I'm going to do is open up a new document for my Reason. I'm going to right click and go to my utilities to create a combinator. So for this combinator, I'm actually going to select a ID8 instrument device. And this is kind of a weird device. Basically, it's just like a basic instrument for people who don't want to mess around with sound design and make different or unique sounds. They just have something to ready play and go. But for this, I think, yeah, for this we're going to be doing some sound manipulation. So instead of piano, I'm going to go to, I think it's in synth. No, here it is, organ. And we're going to choose a combo for our organ. We're going to turn up the type all the way to 127, and we're going to take the chorus to maybe 8. After this, I'm going to create a line 6 bass amp just to time things up by turning on the compressor. After this, I'm going to go to my creative effects to go to my Scream 4 distortion unit. Now for this distortion, I'm actually going to leave the damage at 64, and I'm going to change the type to tube. I'm going to turn P1 all the way, and P2 we're going to take this about 85. So I'm going to hold shift to get that 85. Boop. And we're also going to turn on our body, turn it to type E, and take everything to 0. So after this, we're going to go into our Studio FX, and create an M-class equalizer. We're going to turn on low cut, parameter 1, parameter 2, and that's about it. We're going to take parameter 1 to about 187 Hertz, push the gain to -18.3, and turn the Q to 32. We're going to do that same method, but this time for 2.130 kilohertz. Gain down, Q all the way up. And after this, we're going to create from our Studio Effects an RV7000 Advanced Reverb. We're going to take the dry wet to 22 and the decay to 60. Should be 64. So if you can't get the exact numbers, just hold shift and you'll still be able to to move the mouse to get an exact number. So let me drag this down to 64. Okay, so after this, I want to create another line 6 bass amp to squash the signal. So that way we have a better working condition for our synth. After this, I'm going to go to Creative Effects again to create another Scream 4 distortion. Now, this is where our vintage sound comes in. We're going to choose Feedback. We're going to push P1 all the way up. Damage control, just leave that at 64. Now, for my previous effort, I think what I did was, 38 for P2. What I'm actually going to do is push this up to 40 and see where we are there. Okay, so we're almost there, so let me push it up to 41 and see where we are. Still nothing. So let's try something even more dramatic, like 46, I'm sorry. Now you can hear it's dominant in the frequency, so it's a little bit too much, so 44. Still a little too dominant, so let's try 43. Still a little too dominant, 42. Okay, so around 42 is about 42 to 43 is where we want our vintage to come in. So for this, I'm actually going to turn on body. I'm going to take my reso all the way down and push up my scale and my auto to 64. Turn it to type E. Now, as you can tell in the beginning, that it starts off kind of jagged, kind of sharp, and that's because we're combining frequencies and they don't quite agree with each other. So it's on the off chance you play some black keys and with some white keys, you'll start to get more of a vintage feel. So after this, to complete the synth, we're going to choose a line 6 bass amp, turn on the compressor. After the Scream 4, make sure it's after the Scream 4 distortion, we're going to choose an M-class maximizer. So what this does is that, I'm going to take off limiter. So what this does is we're taking a very distorted signal from our Scream 4 and we're pushing it through our maximizer, which will take it down to a usable dynamic signal. And what we use with the compressor is we squash it down further below its threshold, so that way we can work with, it's better to work with quieter signals because you can always boost them. However, if you have a very loud signal, you want to do the opposite. You want to shrink it. You want to make it quieter, so that way you have more dynamics to work with. So anyways, on our M-class maximizer, I'm going to turn our release to auto, turn on soft clip, turn the amount to 127, and there you guys have it. You have your very own vintage pump organ. So, thanks for joining me. Oh, and one other tip, if you do not want kind of a phaser mount, I suggest turning off the bodies, because the bodies create kind of a flanger chorus effect. So thanks for joining me, and I'll check you guys out tomorrow for another crazy adventure synth. Or maybe some tips, or maybe some completely different. I'm not too sure. But I will say this, all my videos and all the content I create is 100% royalty free. So everything you create with Burgard Records, or anything you create anything with me, your instructor, Jordan Burgard, I am a certified audio engineer. I am certified to teach this course and material, and I'm certified to teach you anything I can create. So thanks for joining me, and I'll check you guys out later for something different. Maybe I'll teach you how to convert rastered images with Photoshop and Illustrator. Maybe I'll teach you how to look for certain things when creating web documents and preparing things for the web. Or maybe I'll teach you something that teachers can't teach you or don't normally teach, and that is how to storytell. So I'll check you guys out tomorrow, and if you want anything else other than synths or drums or Ableton versus Reason tutorials, I will be glad to teach you anything you guys wish to learn that I'm able to teach you, like certain things about Minecraft or Word, or um, checking out your surroundings when protecting your house, and just certain things. So, other than that, thanks for joining me, and I'll check you guys out tomorrow. Peace and namaste.